Hey guys, welcome back. I have an incredibly special guest on with me today. She is actually a celebrity love and relationship coach. So, how I discovered her, she was doing a synopsis analysis of all the Love is Blind characters. And I just used air quotes. And I came across her analysis of Kenny and my situation. And there were certain things that I was like, wait, no, that's not right. Or, maybe I felt like it wasn't, I needed to elaborate with her. So I sent her a DM to explain myself. And from there, the kind of like the rest is history. I was on her podcast and she has helped me with my love, dating, and relationship world too. And she's just absolutely profound. So I had to have her on the podcast and share her light with the world because she is absolutely wonderful. So without further ado, welcome Nicole Moore to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited you're here. So I want to, first and foremost, can you share with everyone your story, your journey, how you became a love coach?
Yeah. Okay. So it started in childhood from a wound. So without going into the whole thing, all you need to know is that when I was a child, how I grew up and my picture of the world was my parents don't love me. That must mean there's something wrong with me. And I just grew up in one of those households where people didn't say I love you and there was not a lot of praise and there's a lot of criticism. And I'm sure people can relate to that. So I just had this like big love wound since I was a kid. I'm like, there must be something wrong with me. I'm not lovable. And so, of course I had horrible self-esteem and like I was painfully insecure. And I just had these like inner wounds. So then I start to date. And of course it was a hot mess. And, like I fell in love for the first time. I was so codependent, so addicted to that relationship. Then that relationship ended. I was broken up with and I felt like my world was over. And I cried for like 4 years after that. And I was upset thinking I'll never find anyone like that. Now I laugh, but like that's where I was. And so then I had these like chasing unavailable guy, like blah, 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 like the crumbs, going for guys with crumbs, you name it. And I kind of was like having a lot of these experiences where it was basically just a lot of suffering in my love life, a lot of suffering in how I felt about myself. And that set the stage for me to be very interested in trying to figure out how to make love work. My company is called Love Works. I just kind of, I decided, I'm like, I want to be confident. I want to love myself. I want to figure this out. So I went into a lot of study. I went into a lot of, spirituality, all that stuff. And I was working as a publicist. I was working in public relations. I got to this point where I was like, I want to do my own thing. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be location independent. Help, universe, show me what to do. Yeah. And so I remember I went to like a landmark seminar, landmark education, and this girl gets on stage and she's like, they do this at Landmark, you declare who you are to the world. She's like, I'm declaring the possibility of becoming a life coach. And she was 24. And that created a light bulb for me because I think I was like 26 at the time. And I was like, oh, wait, what? You could do that? Like I didn't know, so it was kind of like, that was one of those beautiful moments where the universe tapped me on the shoulder and said, pay attention. So right after I started like researching like life coaching schools and like figuring it out. And eventually I quit my job, traveled a little bit. I went to coaching school. And from the very first class, like I had this feeling of like, oh, wait a minute, I could do this. I could be good at this. Like I felt like a misfit before. I felt like, how are people working in offices? Are they just like somehow happy with this and I'm not? And I felt like very like not good at, not good at things. And it was just like this drop-in moment from the very first class. So I got certified and then I was in a relationship at the time, somebody I thought who was my soulmate. He was not my soulmate. He was an emotionally abusive narcissist and cheater, but I loved him at the time. So I just wanted to spread love. I really wanted to spread self-love. Like I really wanted to give people that gift. And so I decided to coach people on love and relationships. But even when I was a pro bono, like I was just giving away my coaching for free, every woman was like, can we talk about relationships? And so it's like, I don't know, life moved me in that direction. My heart called me in that direction. And I began to build a business and I was building it while I was in that relationship. And then that relationship ended. And then I had to go through that like crisis of like, can I really coach people on this? And I had to teach myself everything that I had taught clients. I had to take myself further. I had to like figure it out for myself. And so through that process of healing from that relationship and dating and finding my person, all of that, it kind of took my coaching even further. I was already helping women. I was already helping women get engaged, married, la, 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 even though my love life was a mess. But then I had to go through it on my own and prove to myself everything works. So it's kind of like life brought me in that direction. Then it kicked my ass a little bit in a good way to really show up authentic and really like living the truth of what I'm teaching, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you said that, because I myself, and I think I've talked with you about this, but I think every coach, every entrepreneur experiences that. It's like, we're really good at what we can do for other people, but when we like taking our own advice, sometimes it's like we don't hear it until we need to hear it. And we're like, wait a second, I'm honestly not in alignment with who I actually am, but I'm giving all this advice, but I'm not taking my own. Like I gotta make changes, and that may require letting that person go, especially if it's a toxic relationship, obviously. And we both had that. So I recognize that in my relationship that I've had, conversations with you about. It's like, I'm preaching boundaries and all this stuff that I've learned and I'm helping women with now. And I'm like, Kelly, you're not honoring your own boundaries. So I just felt such a personal relationship with you on that level too. So I know I've talked to a lot of other coaches that are the same way. Like, they're like, yeah, I finally started taking my own coaching advice.
Right?
It does. And obviously, yes, it helps you step really more fully into your power too, because underlying, you may have had this like, I'm really powerful, but then I'm like doing this. So you kind of shrink up a little bit and play small in certain areas, even when you may not even know it. Like, I started to bring awareness to that. I know you said that you had to kind of like lean into everything, but was there like a moment that you remember when you were like, something needs to change, and what do I do to do that?
Well, yeah, in this particular, like in terms of like my coaching business, it was when I went through the final breakup with my ex, because those relationships where it's like multiple times and you're not leaving. But, it's so funny because like this hasn't been on my mind too, in terms of like women and like staying in relationships and like, why do we stay in toxic relationships? And this is my theory only because I know it happened to me. It's like, we all have to reach the snapping point. You could look at your friend and you're like, he's cheating on you. Like, why don't you leave? But that's not her snapping point. Like, it's like, you have to get to your own personal snapping point. And it might be something small or it might be something huge, but it's usually not what other people would think, right? My snapping point came after much cheating and much this and la la, and it was just on New Year's. And like, my ex, instead of coming to like see me, because we had plans together, I actually had ditched plans with my friends, which is a bad idea, people, to see my ex who had already cheated, who I was still entangled with, but not, that's where I was at the time. And I had gone to DC. It's like this whole thing. I had gone to DC because that's where he lived. And I was like living there for a month in Airbnb by myself. It's like bizarre. And I look back and I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
He was supposed to see me on New Year's. And right before, like, he was supposed to come, he sent me a text like, I don't think I should come because we're just probably going to fight anyway. But like before that, earlier, he had become jealous about something. So I knew it was because of that. That moment, I don't know why that moment. It's just in that moment I realized, like, you don't do this to somebody that you love. You don't leave somebody alone on New Year's if it's somebody you love. That was my moment. And I snapped. Like, I had that snap where it was like, I don't want to try and make it work with you anymore. I'm done. And so I came back to New York, and like, I was really done after that. I was really done. And I remember sitting crying on the floor and having this conversation with myself of like, Nicole, I know this hurts, but you don't get to close now. Like, you don't get to close. This is not the moment where you close your heart and you say, I'm done, and you don't date and you don't open, because I had worked with those women. I coached those women who had closed 10 years ago, and now they're trying to find the love of their life with a heart that's closed. Yeah. So I remember just having this conversation with myself where I was like, Nicole, like, you cannot do what they do. You have to do it differently. You have to heal through this. You have to keep your heart open. And that's what I would do. I literally would get up in the morning, cry, move my body, get the emotions out, get on a coaching call. Click, we're done. Cry, 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 get on a coaching call. Click, we're done. Cry, cry, cry. Like, that was my life for a period of time, because I was healing while I was trying to still grow my business. I didn't stop my life.
Yeah.
I incorporated so much healing into my life, and I decided you're not going to close. And I decided you didn't go through this relationship so you could not have love, even though my ego was still trying to convince me that like I wasn't going to have love and I was going to help everyone else find love, which is such a trick of the ego. But I decided I'm going through this really horrible moment right now because I'm meant to have higher love. And then I ended up launching a program like years later called Higher Love. It was a very full circle moment. But I would play the song Higher Love, not the fast version. There's like a slow version by this. He sings it and it's beautiful and it's emotional. I play the song Higher Love every day. And I would connect to my vision and I would just remind myself, you are going through this because you're meant to have a relationship that's so amazing and so incredible and be that way shower. And so it was like, I don't know, like I was coaching people before and I was helping them before, but it was a shift into like being a leader, being a way shower, being the embodiment of the message. That's what happened when I had that snapping point, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love that. And how long from the time that you had that snapping point to like manifesting like this dream husband of yours now?
A year.
A year.
So yeah, I'm like very intense person. I will say that. So like I was like 4 hours a day doing like inner work and journaling, la-di-da-di-da. Now I'm like, I have a child. I'm like, what the hell? How did I even have that time? But I had time then. I lived by myself in New York and I had time.
Yeah.
So I was very intense and I'm obsessed with inner work anyway. So I did this thing. I now call it dating for growth, but I did it for myself. I said, I'm going to assume that the love of my life is a guaranteed possibility.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that this is true. And I'm assuming that everything that's happening right now in this moment is the manifestation of my man. This is why I say to my clients, everything is the manifestation of your man, including this moment. So I said, Nicole, you're going to assume that everything that's happening to you is for the sole purpose of you manifesting that relationship, whether it's a guy ghosting you or a great date or a disappointment, or my ex kept calling me because that's what narcissists do. They won't let you go. I was like, everything is the manifestation of my man, including this moment. And so I really just kept my heart open. There were moments where I felt like my heart was being ripped out of me and I was like in so much pain, but I learned how to be vulnerable. I learned how to tell people that that's what I was going through. Like I just practiced being the version of myself that I would be in that amazing relationship. And I really took it seriously. And I will say this, I have a manifestation exercise that I teach my clients. It's in a program that I have called True Love Academy. And it's this ritual. And it involves this it has a candle. It's like a whole ritual, but I had this candle and I got it from this store called Enchantments in New York City. I hope it's still open. It's like this witchy candle shop place. And there's a man-woman candle together. And I would look at it every day and I would ask myself, like, are you ready to manifest this person in? So I wasn't like, let me find a husband as soon as possible to make me feel better. I was like, Nicole, you're going to do the work to get aligned. And I would have that as a touchstone and I would look at it every day. Mm-hmm. Am I ready to manifest this person into my life or not? And so I kind of was just always like checking with that. And then I thought I was ready and I went to go find the candle and believe it or not, I lost it, but my attitude was there must just be some more growth that needs to happen in order for me to be ready, or maybe he's growing, which I think is important because I was training my mind the whole time not to spiral into despair, disappointment. It's never going to happen. This guy goes to me. That means I'm going to be alone forever. I was training myself constantly to believe that I could have the love that I wanted. And so it was like a muscle that got super strong. Anyway, long story short, I lost the candle. I found it like a few months later and, I had done some growing in between. And then I did my ritual and I met my husband, like, I don't know, a few weeks after that, Wow. So the moral of the story really is like, so many women, I think, in their love lives, but this also happens when you're growing a coaching business. It's like, this happened and this means I'm never going to get it. And we go down these spirals and it's like, it's so much easier if you're just constantly focusing on building your own belief that you can have it rather than being the person that's telling yourself that you can't.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Since you stepped into that, how, like, and did the healing work yourself, how has your business grown, improved, strengthened, escalated?
I mean, I like tripled the amount of revenue that I was making the year that I met my husband, you know, like,
Wow.
you know, I mean, I guess, but in a way it's like, I guess you could say like, well, you know, that's my business is love. So like, you know, but it was, I don't know, like, what I love about working on your love life is that it brings you this core power and this fierceness and this self-love that just like translates to other areas of your life, you know, except it's like the funny thing is like women always tend to work on their love life last, you know, because we're
Yeah.
afraid. But it's like if you're rocking it out and you feel like a badass in your love life, like you feel pretty powerful, right? So
Yeah.
all that work made me feel really great about myself, and it translated. And like, listen, I'm also very smart in terms of like marketing and business. So that year that I was working on myself to find my husband, I also was talking about attraction. I was talking about getting dates. I was talking about being that woman that like you walk into a room and all the guys ask you out, because that was very, 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 very real for me at the time. Like I was also like focusing on my strengths in that moment, and my strengths in that moment were like attraction, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I met my husband, and then it grew. And then I was talking about creating a lasting relationship, and I created a program around that, you know? So I kind of,
So cool.
I created content based on what was real and true for me in the moment, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that. And I feel like, you know, I mean, I've done that too. Like I'll start thinking of things that are, and it's just, I incorporate it into like a live coaching call or something. I'm like, you know, because I've integrated it, I've embodied it. I'm like, okay, like that's such a radical, I don't know, it's just a radical thing to do and be able to do. Once you've embodied it and have integrated it, of course, yourself. So I think that's awesome. So I had a question and it like totally left my brain, so it'll probably come back to me at the end. But I think what I wanted to ask though, just like what you were saying about just continuing to like really hold space for the journey of, and not trying to like force or control anything either. Just kind of like, you know, that you're doing the work. That's wonderful. And yeah, kind of like taking yourself outside and thinking, well, he's doing the work too, to like come and like be a match for me. I thought that was cool. You said he might be doing the work.
Yeah. Typically with the women at least the women that work with me, they're attracting in really high, I call it a top 1% man, right? Yeah. They're attracting in like the best of the best. But like, so this is why I created Dating for Growth. Like, because what I realize is most women are dating for outcome. They're only obsessed with like, am I meeting the one? And if I meet the one, that means I've won and I'm a good woman and I'm desirable and all this stuff. And if I have a breakup or if a guy doesn't call me back, I'm horrible. Like that's literally how most women feel. Like at the end of the day, they might not tell you, but that's how we feel, right? Like I'm horrible. There's something wrong with me. I'm never going to find love. And so we are so obsessed with the outcome because we think that's the thing that's going to make us feel great about ourselves. But when you're focused on growing into the woman who is a match for the kind of relationship that you want, by the way, you're still going to grow when you're in the relationship. You're focused on the part that you can control, which is how you feel about yourself. Right. That is what you can control. Sometimes you can't control. You can meet a great guy and he could devolve into his own fear because 2.5 months into the relationship, he hit a trigger that he couldn't move past, right? Like you can't control other people. Now, you can have a lot of influence based on how you show up, but sometimes people just get afraid and it's like he hit that landmine and he couldn't move past it and it had nothing to do with you, right? And you can't control that. But what you can control is, wow, but like, I'm proud that with this man, I showed up more authentic than I ever did. And you build your self-esteem and you think about like, wow, how is that going to help me for the next relationship? Or I'm proud that he treated me in this way. And now I know that I deserve that. And so you kind of build it for the next relationship. And I think women, the timeline for women in their love life can freak them out so much, you know? Yeah. And most women like don't really, it's not really like, there's some women who like, I don't know, I don't even want to say it because I know somebody who is 48 and she just got pregnant with her, I mean, they had to do IVF, but she has twins with her husband. So like, you know what I mean? That's awesome. But a lot of women feel this like, I have to have it now, but they're trying to get the relationship because they're trying to like make it mean like I'm great, I'm good, I'm whatever. They're trying to make it mean something about themselves, and they're putting this pressure, and they're putting the pressure on the guy. And it's like, if you can just trust that this is in your timeline, you relax, you're able to bring more of yourself. And like, I don't know, I was just thinking about this yesterday. It's like, everyone has their time in the sun. If you want your time in the sun, you're going to have it. Like, some people have business success and they're like, it's like, oh my God, how the hell are they doing it? And like, that's their time in the sun, and that's amazing. And then like yours might come a year later, or, you know, like vice versa. But I feel like if we can just get in this mode of believing like everybody has their time in the sun, like everyone, we could just want that. Like, I want everyone to have it, instead of like, why does she have a boyfriend? She's not that great. And she's crap. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff that we do in our minds that keeps us from what we want. And like, I'm a person who's like, I want it now, instant manifesting, all of that. But even just in 2020 with like, I don't know, I feel like it was a year of like, things might take longer, or I went through a situation where we were trying to sell our house, and it was just like longer than I expected. And I was like, oh, I'm used to like manifesting so much. But what I learned, and I actually thought about my clients in that moment, and I was like, God, this is a lot of them, how they feel, where they're like, why isn't it happening? Why is it not happening sooner?
Yeah.
But what I learned was really an even deeper sense of trusting that what I want's coming. If it's not here right now, it doesn't mean necessarily something's wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong. They're doing something wrong. It's just an opportunity to click into alignment, and it will happen. And what I want women to stop doing is saying, the man isn't here, so there's something wrong with me. That's the thing. Like, we got to get rid of that thing that's saying there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's profound. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And we tend to like define ourselves, and like you said, put meaning on ourselves if something isn't happening the way we want it to, or not happening fast enough, you know, all of that. It's okay. Well, what's going on? Like, why isn't this happening? Is there something wrong with me? Did I say something? Did I do something? And we start freaking out. Just chill. Do you?
I would say to women too, it's like, listen, if you wanted a husband, you could get one. Like, if you just wanted normal, everyday, whatever, like you could get one. Like, it's not that hard to get if you just really want someone by your side. But if you're trying to create something really exceptional in your life, and, you know, high level relationships where both people are amazing, both people are doing the work, and you're passionate, and you love each other, and you have a good time. It's not like it's rare in the sense that most people don't even realize that they can have it yet, right? It's not that it's like impossible, but so many people don't even realize that they can have it yet, and that it's available yet. And so in that sense, it's like you're creating an elevated relationship higher than what most people have. I was just talking to a woman who's married, but the relationship isn't great, and she's having a side conversation with somebody on the internet, and like that lives in another country. It's like a 90-day fiance kind of situation. But what it makes me think is like, people might look at her and say, oh, well, she's better than me, she's been in a relationship for so long, you know what I mean? But it's about the quality of the relationship that you're having. So if someone's listening and they're like, what's wrong with me, I'm still single, maybe you just want something exceptional, and you're putting in the work right now to receive it, and you'll have something that's really great, and it'll be worth it when you get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Patience has been one of my like buzzwords this year. I'm like, patience with everything, Cal. Just stop trying to force it. Stop trying to make it happen. Like, just get into alignment, like you said, and just be patient and enjoy that journey, enjoy the process of everything. Again, that was probably one of my things I like coach my girls through. And then I was like not doing myself. I'm like, Kelly, what's happening? I had to check myself. But yeah, no, absolutely. Okay. So I want to share your light even deeper with the world. So I had asked Nicole to perform a little one-on-one coaching session with me. And so you're going to see how she coaches. So if you ever have any interest, obviously you would reach out to Nicole to line that up. But also I wanted her to do this too, because she's probably going to make me emotional. I'm going to get emotional, I'm sure. I already feel the like pit in my throat. But I want to give women I guess just permission to that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to get emotional. It's okay to feel the sadness and the anger even that you may have for where you're at right now. You know, whatever has happened in the past has happened, and sometimes we elude anger, frustration, confusion, disappointment, sadness, like all of these like really low vibrational energies to it. And if we stay in that, we attract that. We keep attracting it. And
Yeah.
so obviously doing work like this, it helps us to heal that.
Mm-hmm.
And we all want to be vulnerable, deep, you know, dive deep into healing our wounds and getting to a place where we can transition those low vibe energies to a higher vibe so that we can start attracting and manifesting these dreamy men and relationships and everything. So yeah, I want you to just tear me down.
Yeah. Okay,
Let's
what's
go.
happening? What is? Give me an update. What's happening? What's pulling at your heartstrings?
Okay. Let's see. So I had a relationship. I think the biggest thing, I actually had a cry sesh last night, and it was very powerful. I was like going to bed at like 11:30 at night, and I just like walked into my living room and just got super emotional. Like, and I laid, now I'm going to cry. I laid on the couch where my friend and I
Mm-hmm.
used to lay and like hang out. And so I just like, I hugged the pillow. Like he always like sat on like one side of the couch. I like hugged the pillow and I was like, Kelly, it's okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
your like inner child right now, she needs to be held. She needs to
Yeah.
be comforted, and she needs to know that it's okay to grieve. And I may, you know, I may be grieving in 6 months from now too. And that's okay. Like allow
Yeah.
yourself to cry. Cause I think that as much as I preach, you know, don't, you know, if you start bypassing emotions and voiding things out, it leads to burnout. And I myself know that I have been not necessarily fully allowing myself to release and to grieve. And so I did that, and I had just a moment with myself last night, and I felt so much better.
Yeah.
But do I miss my person? Still, yes, I do. And I think, I mean, I diagnose myself and analyze things all the time, and I don't necessarily do it for like, I don't do it to keep myself stuck. I do it to heal and to understand what lessons I need to have learned from that relationship, you know? But, and I know wholeheartedly that I deserve an incredible love and a relationship, and that it's on its way to me and everything. But like I guess I have given myself, forgiveness because I don't even know if I told you this from a while ago, but so in college, I had experienced a sexual trauma, like emotionally abusive, sexually abusive situation. And I like literally like probably the last few weeks, I even told my mom, I was like, I should have gone to therapy for that. And I never did. And I think that that situation, it took so much of my worth away,
Yeah.
that situation, plus the like 4-year-old situation of rejection, honestly just made me like continue to attract the like men that weren't showing up for me, because I obviously wasn't in this healing path at the time. Like I didn't know that little Kelly needed to feel loved and accepted and by herself, not from external factors, of course. But that trauma, like I went to therapy one time, and I remember the therapist kind of spoke very condescendingly to me. So, and it rubbed
Mm-hmm.
me the wrong way. And I just was like, oh, I'm fine. That was
Yeah. Yeah.
literally my word. Like my mom was like, oh, how'd it go? We're going again. And I was like, no, totally fine. I'm healed. I'm good to go. Obviously I wasn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, a part of me, like I said, I give myself grace because it happened for a reason, of course. But for me to have experienced the relationship that I just am grieving over right now, I'm like, damn it. You know, if I had just like, if I had gone to therapy, or if I had just done this prior to, maybe that relationship would still be here.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. So I don't know. I need to talk to this guy, and then we'll see. So,
Or let's showing up differently. Let's put it that way.
yeah. this is what I'm feeling though. This is the general emotion that I feel is kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like vibrating in the field. It's like wrong, right? Like okay, so this is the danger for you, Kelly. And this is a danger for a lot of women who are so into personal development, because then it's like, I'm wrong. Let me figure out what's wrong. And it's like so an over responsibility. Like I really still think that that's what happened in this past relationship, probably is an over responsibility. It's like, here's the line. For people who are listening, I'm putting a line in the center. On the left side is Kelly's responsibility for whatever, I don't want to say bad, whatever things that happened in the relationship that weren't for the highest good. And then there's his side. And I feel like you're like all the way on your side and all the way on his side. And like, because when we say like, if I had just showed up differently, well, it might have been better. On the one hand, it's like, oh, okay, you're taking responsibility. But what I feel, you can tell me if I'm wrong, underneath that is still this thing of I'm wrong. That's what I feel vibrating, blaring. I'm wrong. I did it wrong. I have to change. I did it wrong. I have to change. I did it wrong. I have to change. Let me figure it out. How do I change? I was wrong. Let me be better. Let me be better. It's like, that's how I feel. The inner little girl is like, let me change and be better and fix it so that I can have it.
Yeah.
And you can feel that first. So let me know if that is even making any sense.
It does.
But a lot of people who have had sexual trauma, which is such, sexual trauma is, it's not even understandable. Like we can't even comprehend why people would act that way, right? It's just like, you can't even, there's no explanation, right, for the horror and the terror that is sexual trauma. And so many people, whether you were abused as a child or it happened when you were an adult, it's this energy somehow, some way, gets twisted of I did it wrong and what should I have done differently, and like I did it and that's why it happened to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of want you to take a moment and feel into if some of that patterning is happening with, even with this ex, where it's like, I did it like wrong, or because I bet if we were to sit here and talk about his behavior and what he did, we would find out that he was not a perfect saint.
For sure. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, like going back, like when we've had first started, we transitioned from a friendship into a romantic relationship. I remember having the conversation, like our friendship is so sacred. Like if at any point either one of us starts to feel different about things, like we have to talk about it, we have to communicate it. And he did. He said he was the first one. It was a few months in and he was like, something feels off. I need to take a step back. And a couple weeks later, we had a conversation. He was like, Kelly, ever since we had that talk, I feel like you've been like full force, and I recognize I got that masculine energy, that control came in, which I've tried to do in the past. It's like, no, like I'm going to fix this. Like I'm the one who's going to fix this, instead of respecting his wishes of just giving him space and allowing him to figure his shit out. Do what?
Okay. Before he said, whatever he said, right? I want you to really feel into this. Did you do something wrong?
No, I did nothing wrong. The only thing, I didn't do anything wrong, but I felt, so my parents asked us to come, it was the first, obviously he's known my parents, but it was the first time that they asked us as a couple per se to come and have dinner with them, whatever. And something felt very off. And I know I expressed this the day after to him, because I was quiet. To me, it felt off to me, and I expressed this later because I was more quiet, and I'm more talkative usually around him and my family, but I was kind of quiet. I was very observant of the behaviors happening, everything. I was literally analyzing everything. And the next day I got really emotional with him, and I think I know why I was acting that way. I was a past relationship, I got triggered, something triggered me, and it just threw me off.
Stop and affirm you for a second.
Yes.
Because this is I promise you, Kelly, the only thing that you need to do is make yourself feel so freaking right that it feels like almost over the top. That's the only thing you need to do. Honestly, probably in other areas of your life too. Like
Yeah,
that's the
probably.
only thing. Okay? Because this
Hmm.
is the, and not everybody, some people listening, you know, if you're the person that's like you don't give men a chance and you're like too hard on them. No. Okay. So can we just applaud you for a moment that you were able to recognize that you got triggered and you were able to communicate with him?
Yeah.
Can you take a deep breath and take that in, the level of greatness that you already are in a relationship in?
Yes.
Can you receive it?
Yes.
Because I know women in relationships and a lot of women, they wouldn't have had the awareness, or they would have caused a fight, or they would have not said something.
Yeah.
So we need to affirm how great you already are in relationships, so we don't continue to feed a little through line of I'm bad at relationships, or I'm the one that doesn't work for. That's like a little through line that's trying to tug at you, and it's trying to convince you that that's the truth of who you are. And it's not the truth of who you are.
All right.
So now you can continue, but
yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, like, I feel like I play devil's advocate. I have conversations with myself all the time. You know, I'm like, okay, what was going on here? But this is how I showed up, and that was really good. But you know, and there's probably always a but. But yeah, I feel like I just got like emotionally triggered, obviously, like I said, and I think it was something in my head was like, it's too soon. Like, although we've known each other our entire lives, and he knows my family, in a romantic situation, it wasn't the right time to like introduce the parents to the boyfriend kind of thing.
Because what? Like, what was the fear? If I do this too soon, what's going to happen?
Well, if I did, I don't know how to answer that.
Well, you said you were triggered. So what happened in the past that made you think that it was a bad idea? Because sometimes people like, I don't know, like, you know, it happens where it's like, oh, my parents came over and my boyfriend was here and they just met. And it's like, they meet on the second day or so what was the fear? Like, if it's not in this order, if it doesn't happen in this timeline, what's going to happen?
Yeah. I don't know if it was I guess the first thing that's coming to my head, like I noticed at one point, like my mom and I were inside and him and my dad were like sitting by the pool and they like weren't talking. And I was like, you know, when you like take a guest to like a wedding and you like feel like you have to entertain them, like for a second there, I felt like, oh God, like, oh my God, like I want them to be getting along. I want them to have some stuff to talk about. Like,
if they don't, what? If they're not getting along, what?
Then that's not my problem. It's not my problem. But it wasn't even that. But you know, but what's really funny is that my dad and this guy are extremely observant people. So I'm like, okay, they're just chilling. Like, Kelly, stop being so in your freaking head. Like, get out of your head.
And also, yes, it's your job to, you know, of course, help make your boyfriend or significant other comfortable. They're also an adult. They can also converse. They can also do their work on their side of the street to like impress your parents or whatever. So this is where you're going. I want you to pay attention to this moving forward in relationships. Where are you going over the line? You're stepping into managing them to make everything okay. But then when we do that, we're just emitting this anxious energy. Yeah. And doesn't mean you did something wrong. It's just a pattern to notice of when I step over the line, I think I'm going to fix everything. I think I'm going to make it better, but it's coming from a place of fear. It usually doesn't make it better. And what you also want to be expecting is the person that you're in relationship with can handle a little bit of your fear. Like they should be able to appropriately handle, she had a moment of freaking out or she got triggered. If you can't even have an ounce of not being 100%, you know, okay, it's not sustainable. I always say to my clients, you get 10% of the time, be crazy, be a bitch, do the wrong thing. You need to have permission to, you know, fuck it up sometimes. And if you don't have that, or if you're a person who feels, oh my God, if I'm going to mess it up, you kind of tend to attract people whose line of what they can tolerate is so close to that. Like it's just anything, anything will send them off. It'll send them away. Oh, I can't handle this. Oh, I need time. You see what I'm saying? Like we tend to attract those people who don't have this, like this space. Like you need space in a relationship to have your partner be triggered. There's a difference between I'm triggered, I'm yelling at you, I'm being mean to you, and I'm just sharing that I'm afraid.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. And what I want you to know is you are allowed to, you don't do that. You don't break a bottle over his head. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Just share. You share very responsibly what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And that's what I want you to let sink in. So you can change your expectation of the men you're dating from, I hope I don't do something to trigger their tripwire so they move away,
right.
to this is who I am. I'm a person who processes. I'm a person who feels things. I need to be able to communicate this in a relationship. And I need somebody who can hold space for that.
Right.
How does that feel if that's what you're looking for?
That feels good because I am looking for that. I need someone, or I want someone that is going to hold that space. And yeah, absolutely. And just, okay, okay, it happened, And I know too, I mean, for him, I know that he had some inner wounds, relationship wounds that he had not healed from. And I mean, I knew that, but also towards the end of our relationship, I guess, I remember saying, like, joking around, I was like, oh, well, now you'll have all the time in the world to like go fix your shit, basically. And he's like, yeah, haha. I'm like, no, for real, go fix your shit so you can show up. And I'm not expecting him to like come back into my life in that degree, but I'm like, go tune inward so that you can show up better for another girl.
Yeah.
Too, I mean.
Yeah. So far you've done everything you explained, you've done nothing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were talking, something popped up and I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it probably does because we're all programmed from our parents. But the comment, why did you do that? Why did you think to do that? Like, what made you do that? What is, almost like, what is wrong with you? Mm-hmm. I mean, I heard, not to say I heard that a lot, but I heard that at some point, or even if it wasn't to me, it was like maybe to a sibling or what, mom to dad. What is wrong with you? Why would you do that?
Yeah. So I want you to take a moment. I want you to feel the charge. Ooh. Like if I say, Kelly, what's wrong with you? Why'd you do that? Or maybe even, what's wrong with you? I want you to feel where it's in your body. Feel where that charge is still living, because that's the energy that we're vibrating, even though there's nothing wrong about you and you're amazing. But if there's an energy within you that's still vibrating at I'm wrong, and there's a underlying expectation to meet somebody who's going to compensate for that, but then we attract in somebody who relates to us in that way, like what's wrong? And then it repeats. I don't need to tell you this, that, right?
Yeah.
It repeats and it repeats and it repeats. So I want you to feel that energy in your body. I want you to feel, you can remember one time, you can remember lots of times, whether it was that comment was directed towards you or if it was directed at someone else. And of course, your parents are lovely and they didn't mean anything wrong by it. And probably what they were thinking wasn't even what you felt, but it matters because that's what you felt and that's your interpretation and it impacted you. Mm-hmm. And then you took it on as your own voice, right? Yeah. So that they're gone, but you're going, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Yeah. So can you feel it?
In my gut.
You feel that within you?
Yeah, it's in my gut. Where I have all my issues.
So let's feel it in your gut. Let's take a deep breath and let's feel that and start to set the intention that as you're feeling it right now, you're feeling it to release. You're feeling it to let go. It doesn't need to be in your body anymore. It's not bad and wrong that it's in there. And you can also make a choice to ask for it to go. But we're not making it wrong. We're just saying you're here and, it's been nice. It's been real. Okay. So I want you to feel it. And I want you to just let any memories of experiencing that feeling. They're thinking, oh, I did something. What did I do? Oh my, what? I did something wrong? I got to figure it out. I got to figure out what I did wrong. And that creates obsession, because the thing is, you never did anything wrong.
Right.
You never did anything wrong. It was simply one or two people's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that parents do. This is something that I still have to watch in myself. And so I understand it. It's like you want your child to behave, or you want them to act in a certain way, really just so you could feel better. It's like, why do I want my kid to eat dinner instead of running around like a maniac like he does for an hour and a half while I'm shoving chicken tenders in his mouth? It'd be easier for me. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and it's hard. We do this as parents, right? Let's control the child's behavior so I can feel better.
Yeah.
So when your parents were doing that, it was really about their own stuff.
Right.
You weren't doing anything wrong. Did you hold a knife to your sister's throat and try and kill her? Did you spit in your mom and dad's face? Did you probably did nothing wrong, right? Because you were so obsessed with not doing that. But I really want you to take a deep breath and feel that. So go back to one of the moments where you can remember and think about what you were doing before the comment came.
Mm.
And I want you to go to that little girl and tell her, you're perfect. What you're doing right now is awesome. You're amazing. You're great. You're not doing anything wrong. I don't know why this adult said that. You're not doing anything wrong. You were just being you. And kind of let her take that in. And I want you to imagine, like, there is this feeling of wrongness. And I want you to imagine if you can kind of push it back to your parents or whoever is there. Like, it's not for you to take on. It's for them. You can't metabolize it for them. People can try and push it on you, but you cannot metabolize it for them. And imagine, well, ask your little girl if she's willing to give it back, because sometimes they don't want to give it back, and that's okay too. Or we don't want to hurt our parents or whatever it is. But ask her if she's willing to give back that feeling that she was not born with. It's not hers. And see if she will.
She will.
And notice your parents. They'll most likely accept it. And if not, you can give it to your parents' higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to them. Your parents would never have made you feel wrong unless they already had pre-existing ideas of either them feeling wrong, or sometimes parents want children to act a certain way so it can make them look good, or they have trigger. There's so much, but they can metabolize those feelings. It's part of their journey, actually.
Yeah.
It's not for you to take on. And as the little girl is giving back, I'm not going to take it. Sorry, you can't make me feel wrong. I know when I've done something wrong. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I know when I've done something wrong. And I also won't take it on when I haven't done something wrong. Yeah. And let her kind of feel that energy. Because she's smart. She's very self-aware. She has the capability to understand when she has, quote, done something wrong, and she'll apologize for it. So I want you to feel her in that moment, standing in her rightness. Mm-hmm. Whatever she was doing in that moment was not the wrong thing to do. And I also want you to feel that she can be standing in her rightness. And look, the parents are there. Can you allow her to feel some of the love? Parents still loving. No need for Kelly to take on this wrongness. It doesn't make the parents love her more. Parents still loving. whether Kelly takes on the wrongness or not, you feel the parents still loving.
Yes.
Let her take that in. Let her take in the energy of, I can feel right within myself. I don't have to take on your side of the street. And I can also receive your love. Can we take on the energy of, you could think I did the wrong thing and I could not take it on and you could still love me. And all of those things can exist. So feel her soaking in the parents' love through that lensing. She never had to figure out what she did wrong to win love back. Love never went away. She never had to take it on either. Love never went away. Love is there. Love is there. Kelly's right. Love is there. Kelly's right. Love is there. And keep feeling that energy and letting that energy fill your body. And now I want you to imagine this energy in relationship. So there's a man on the other side of you. He might get mad at something you said or did. He might tell you. You can stop and evaluate. Okay, maybe, maybe not. But love's not going away. His love is steady. He possesses a very open, generous, strong heart. His heart can hold temporary upset and also love, and he doesn't take away. It's not that these people are wrong or bad. It's just the people that get upset and they pull away, they just don't know how to hold both in their heart yet. They just don't have that skill yet. You do.
I do.
So if you're bringing it, which you are, you can ask for it. So now we're just going to evaluate this ex, who also was your friend, so I know it's harder, through that lens. If you're looking through this lens of, I'm not wrong, I'm not going to take on your wrongness, I'm not going to make myself wrong, I know what I'm bringing, so this is what I expect. Yeah. Look at him through that lens. Again, we're not trying to dog on him or anything like that, but we're trying to appropriately evaluate this man in terms of if he could really be, you know, a match given how he was, not in fantasy land of how he might grow.
Right.
So when you see him through this lens, what do you see?
I did everything right. I did everything right. And he was not ready for the love that I was ready to give. That's the first thing that comes up anyways.
Yeah. So if somebody has a thyroid issue and they do everything right with their diet, they might still gain weight.
Yeah.
It's not the person doing something wrong.
Right.
It's some other factor, right? So I want you to just see how much joy you had when you realized you did everything right.
Yeah.
That's the energy for you to start practicing and holding, because you're not some psycho that's going to blame everything on men and have no self-awareness.
Right. No.
And if people are listening, you're in that place, I love you too. Like, it's just like, you know, like so a lot of us go through that where we blame everything on the man in the outside world.
Yeah.
But you're not that.
No.
It's like, I think this is a pattern because it also happened with your other ex, right? I can't handle this anymore and you're a part of it. So
right.
Same kind of patterning, right?
Right. Yeah.
You don't need that.
Right. No, absolutely. And, you know, just thinking about that, the same thing, like what I was saying about the therapist, that one therapy session, like I said, she spoke down to me, like, why did you do that? It was, that was the turning point. I was like, well, that's not what I needed to hear. You just told me I'm wrong. You just told me I showed up and did something wrong.
To trauma, because of course you didn't do anything wrong to cause sexual trauma.
Right. Right.
So I want you to keep practicing this. I'm right. And I know when I'm doing something, but so if you can stay in that. So your next practice will be when you're dating, practicing, can I keep myself in this energy? And can I learn how to interact with men through this energy where I can keep my rightness? And I can also, like, people can have their reaction, but I can still maintain my rightness without spinning off center and then going into anxiety about like, oh, how do I fix this?
Right. Because then I
And
go
then
into fixer mode.
Yeah. And there's nothing to fix.
Right.
And what you're looking for is that person who can, again, okay, I got triggered, or they can talk to you about it. But like, people don't have to pull away in order to then, like, this thing of I need to pull away so I can come back for a relationship. It's like the only thing they know how to do, but it's not like the highest choice available, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
So
Totally.
they could also stay.
Right.
And you are looking for that open-hearted relationship where
Yes.
you're in it, you're both in it, and it's like, okay, we're feeling this, but we're here, and that's what you deserve. So when you still might grieve this, this person and all of that, but it's like when you feel that, allow the grief, but then also allow yourself to know what you're creating now and how much even better that relationship is going to be
Totally.
than what you had with him.
Absolutely.
Maybe, who knows? Like, again, he's not a bad guy, but he needs to learn how to manage his heart in a more appropriate way in order to be with you. Right. And that's the energy you want to hold.
Right. Right. Exactly. And that's the relationship that I want to attract, is someone who is going to hold that space and be like, okay, we're going to just work through this.
And that's what you're doing with yourself. You're holding yourself right now. And that's the thing that's why it's like, you can be proud of yourself for doing that. This is where we start to build that, like, look how awesome I am. I'm like the best at relationship, because you're holding yourself now and you're doing what you would want the guy to do for you. You held yourself last night.
Right. Yeah.
And doing that, you can attract it. You could technically always attract it. This is what I think, but especially as women, it's like I say, when we're bringing it, we can attract it. When we're bringing it, we just feel like, yeah, of course I can have this. So for people like you, self-affirmation is the most important thing. Not so much always analysis into like, what's my block? What am I doing wrong? Right. It's affirmation, that's what's going to help you at this point of your journey the most, because you're always going to be able to spot what you're doing off, because it's how your brain became wired.
Yes, I'm very aware of my behaviors, for sure.
Like, you take a chill on that, like that's being able to spot where you might be off is an autopilot for you.
Yeah.
But we want to make self-affirmation and making yourself right on autopilot for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. And this just brought so much awareness. Sometimes, obviously, it always helps to have someone like yourself to facilitate this breakthrough, in a sense, mini breakthrough. But, as I started my journey with self-love and everything a couple of years ago in personal development, and then hiring a coach myself a couple of years ago, she always said, like, you go first, with everything. You want to manifest this, you do it. And you just saying that, Kelly, you held yourself last night. I did it. I went first.
Exactly.
I didn't even think about it.
But see, it's like, that's because it's just because your mind isn't looking for that, right. But that's where the juice is for women. It's like, I think this, I don't know. I mean, I think this is for most women. This is how I am too. It's like, I think like, especially coaches can get into this vibe of like, like, like it was like, it's like, I don't know, like if we like berate ourselves or like, like there's like, what's that one guy? I mean, he's like he's like, he was the Navy SEAL, and then he had a book, and it's like very much like, like, and he's great for what he does. It's like suffer and like, and it's like, I think sometimes women coaches think we have to like do that too. But at least what I have found is that, like affirmation and making ourselves feel good for women is what helps us evolve and grow. You know what I mean? Like that's going to help you so much more to feel like, wow, like that feeling that you just had is everything. I'm giving myself the love and care that I want a man to do. And like, how elevated am I that I can do that?
Yeah. I did. It felt so good to do that last night. And I will continue to. I mean, it was, yeah, I needed that.
And that's the game, because then you're not coming to a relationship from a place of, I need a guy to do this for me. It's literally, I can do this for myself. And I love it when he does it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I love it when he does it. Right.
And that's the best place to be for women, because then you don't become crazy trying to like hook him, need him, blah, blah, blah. And you don't like trade yourself, and you don't like not speak up because you're afraid of losing love, because you get that you can take care of yourself. And then you get to that place. This is what I always say. And I said it for myself first. I'd rather lose him than lose me.
Yeah.
And you get to that place when you do exactly what you did, where you got yourself so hard or so much that you're like, why would I trade this for a guy? But like, if a great guy comes, I would love for him to add, but you never diminish yourself anymore. You never diminish yourself because you think a guy's going to add, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
You just know, like, I'm at 100. So like, if you can add to that, fantastic.
Right.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
then you see guys who are like at 70, you're like, no.
Right. I'm not available for that.
Too much for me to go from 100 to try and drag you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exhausting. It'll exhaust you for sure. Yeah. And that's, that's the point that I felt like I got to with that relationship, was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm going up. And if you're not coming with me, I got to leave you behind.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Too, actually.
What'd you say?
It's the same thing with clients too. Like, it's like the same thing. I'm saying this because I know you have a lot of people in your community that are like, it's actually the same thing. It's like, like you can only, people have to be close in their orbit relationships, or else it becomes really, really, really difficult.
So true. Yeah. They have to be open, and yeah, they do. They have to be open to that next level version, or they're going to remain back, and you'll feel like you're pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
You're
I feel
welcome.
so much better. Thank you for making me have those breakthroughs. And oh my gosh, like, I literally was just like, as I had my eyes closed and like my hand on my gut, I was just imagining, just like I said, my parents saying those things to my sister or to each other. And then, like I said, like the therapist saying that, or, and then, some other things happened where I was like, wow, actually this did happen, where I acted bitchy, or I didn't do something right, quote unquote, and the person did stay, but I probably made a bigger deal of it in my head than it needed to be, or I felt like I did something wrong by showing up in that way.
Yeah.
No,
you need to like foster this in a Post-it note. I get to be a bitch 10% of the time.
Yeah, totally.
You can like literally communicate this like to your guy and be like, listen, like, we need to both give each other space. Like, of course, within reason. Like, I'm not saying like you get to cheat on someone 10% of the time if you're in a monogamous relationship. I'm not talking about that, but like, everybody has days, everybody has moments, everybody has triggers. And like, I think if somebody's responsible to say, hey, I got triggered, or I'm sorry I said that, or whatever, and they have that awareness, and they're not just projecting all their triggers onto you and hurting you, it's like, there needs to be space for that. This is like, as a whole, this is like, I mean, I'm going to write a book on this eventually. It's like, it's coming, but we need to have space to be able to communicate our wounds with someone else, and have space around that, and have awareness around that, so that you can keep the relationship going. It's like, that's one of the things I like about my husband, is that he like understands what my triggers are, what my wounds are, and all of that. And so he's like, when I married you, I married your pain body too. Pain body is a term, for those of you who don't know, from Eckhart Tolle. And it basically just means like, your ego's wounds. And he kind of like gets that, you know what I mean? Like, he gets that comes with the package, instead of expecting perfection, which really works for me, because I don't want to have to be perfect. You know what I mean? I don't want to be perfect. I can't be perfect, and you can't be perfect, but you kind of are perfect when you're willing to own it and communicate about it. That's like really perfection, and you're already there.
Yeah, no, totally. And, to elaborate on that, I think that's a really profound statement that you just said, like, for having a partner that understands your wounds and your triggers and stuff. A lot of times we think, oh, I want a partner that understands like what I do, what my love languages are, like all the, like almost like all the positive core values, like all this stuff. Well, no, they need to understand your dark side too,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
really have that. Yeah. I love that.
And I love it too. And sometimes
Love it
it's
too.
hard, but that's where real love comes, and I think it's like,
Yeah.
we need to also, like, it's like we all have this with so many of our parents, like I said, where it's like they're just trying to make the child behave in a way that makes it better for them.
Right. Yeah.
Had nothing to do with you, and you don't need to take it on.
Right. Absolutely. I won't anymore. Thank you. Boundary is up. I got
Yes.
it. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. If you have just like one more piece, like best of advice to give to our listeners feeling stuck, what would you give them? What would you say?
If you're feeling stuck, I think that you've probably piled on a bunch of stuff in your mind about whatever it is, why it's not going to work, or you're thinking about the past, or you're just, we usually feel stuck when we're thinking about limitations, why it's not possible, why I can't have it, why it didn't work. And we're seeing our lives as evidence that we can't have what we want. And we're looking for that, and we're collecting the evidence. And so it creates this feeling of stuckness. And so, like, an easier way to get out of stuckness is really to ask yourself that question, like, how is what's happening now evidence I'm going to get what I want? How is what's happening now helping me get what I want? Like, if you have 100 pounds on your body and your thyroid, I don't know why I'm using this, like your thyroid isn't working, and it's like, but you can say to yourself, but this is causing me to have a deeper relationship with my body, which is causing me to have even more health in the long run, for instance. And I know I'm going to get there to being healthier, but this period right now is really such a time for me to honor and care for my body. And like, so this is like, relevant to me, and what's maybe that's why I'm saying it, right? And it's like, you could think about, before I looked good, but then I was dieting or whatever. And like, so it's just an invitation to have to be healthy and happy and feel great, or with a relationship, right? Like, I'm stuck right now, but this stuckness right now is providing the opportunity for me to heal. And before, when I was in relationships, I was triggered and I was crying and it wasn't working. But now I'm getting the chance to heal myself and love myself. And like, let's look to the future at how amazing that's going to be. So when you see what's happening now as the golden gift for you to receive the next level version of yourself, you start to look at it differently. You start to look at the struggles differently. You start to look at everything differently, even the really hard moments. And then you start to really feel like blessed in a way by life. I know that sounds like crazy, but I've done this. I've done this with, like, I have no money in my bank account, literally. Like, how do I see that this is the time that's making me into a millionaire, right? Or like, I've done this with so many things. My husband went through a horrible pain challenge for 2 years, and it was like very intense. But I was using it as my training ground to see differently and to believe in a miracle, which ultimately happened. And it led to so many other beautiful things. So what's happening now, whatever you feel stuck around, is your training ground. It's not a test from the universe. You're not bad. You're not wrong. You haven't done something wrong. It's your opportunity to actually feel better. Like, it's really always that. It's your opportunity to feel better, to receive more, actually. And if you look at it that way, you might still feel stuck, but you'll also feel the hope, the possibility. And that, I think, is everything.
That is everything. Thank you. That was awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much again for, being a guest on the podcast. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Nicole Moore, love, Moore, love. Moore is my last name. And you can find me on YouTube. It's Nicole Moore Love as well. I release a video every Friday. I have a podcast. It's called Love Works with Nicole Moore. There's an awesome episode on there with Kelly. So definitely go listen to that episode. And my website is loveworksmethod.com.
I love it. Thank you. Thanks again for your time today. Love you. Thank you for sharing all the things and helping me.
Yeah.
All right.